There we go. All right, welcome everyone. This is the last cloudy county of the year. It's December. It is the holiday season. Everybody is wrapping up their shopping and getting ready for break and vacation and all
What
that.
year is it? Is it 2022
I
already? We're
think it
through
still
that?
is. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it still is. It's also kind of the cold season, so I sound like garbage and feel like it too. But we're gonna get through this together. Joe's got a lot of demos lined up for us for this month's topic, which is going to be on Microsoft Search, which is I feel like probably one of the best like I don't want to say unknown, but like little known features. Like it's weird. Like we've worked with people for a long time in teams, and it seems to me like everybody looks right past the fact that there's a box at the top of the Teams app that says search in it. And they never actually I don't know what they do there. It doesn't seem like many people know the power that little box has. So we're going to talk about search inside of Teams, but we're also going to show you search throughout the rest of the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. And our goal is to empower you to see that you can find stuff that maybe you lost, or maybe you're looking for that one important file and you're clicking through folders like you used to. And but now we're going to show you how to actually use Microsoft Search to locate that stuff. But before we get into the topic highlight, there's always new stuff happening in Microsoft 365. There's always updates every single month. And so we're going to cover some of the significant ones that happened in the last month or two that we think will have a good impact on your programming and the way that you use Microsoft 365. So Joe, you want to get us started with, I guess some demo? Is that what we're going to do here?
Yeah, we'll go through some of our what's new and kind of walk you through some demos of that. Again, thanks for joining us this December. I will bring up
While he's
my
getting that
virtual
ready,
machine.
I am very excited about the first thing that we're going to show off, which if you all are hosting Teams meetings and you know your extension programming involves people who are not connected to your university, they might not have a Teams account, they might not have Teams installed. This new update with the web experience, I feel like, is a game changer for those of you.
You still see my share?
Yep, I got you.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we're going to take you through definitely something that really will ease training and the ability to join the webinar experiences, web experiences. So I'm in a web browser. I'm just going to bring up an example meeting. And the biggest difference here that we're talking about is where the meeting bar is at now. So typically, previously in a web browser version of Teams, the controls, the meeting controls, where you could mute your mic, expose your camera, turn on chat, those would show up kind of down in the middle bottom of the screen. And if you were joining as an attendee, if you eventually kind of sat there for a little bit, that bar would get hidden, and you couldn't find it again. You have to move your mouse and wiggle your mouse and discover it again. That was always a problem a lot around training. Now that bar is in the same place you're going to expect to see it, where you're used to seeing it in the full Teams app. So that should really reduce a lot of trouble, perhaps, when you're got a bunch of attendees joining, maybe the first time you've used Teams. This is going to always be visible now. All your options are here, just like you're used to in the Teams app.
This is a pretty big deal because this enables other apps and whatnot to work inside of a meeting. Now, Joe, you're in a channel meeting, so it looks like maybe
Yeah.
apps not there. But like the polling app, which used to be Forms, they're kind of more or less the same thing. That will work the same way it works on desktop. the Q&A app that you can add to a meeting so that you can run moderated Q&A, like think more like a webinar type presentation where you don't want it to be a free for all chat, but you still want people to be able to ask questions that you can moderate. That Q&A app will work now. And it also eases the friction with people from outside your organization, or like I said before, people who don't even have a Teams account. They can just join a Teams meeting right from their web browser, which you've always been able to do, but now the experience is going to mirror what people who are using the desktop see. So for Joe and I, creating screenshots of like, this is how you turn your camera on. We used to have to do that twice. It was twice as much work because it depended on, are you joining from a web browser or are you joining from the app? And so now having those experiences kind of aligned is going to make that a lot better.
And continuing some new features in our meeting experience, there is a new feature that is called Excel Live, where we've hopefully been used to, or maybe you've heard of PowerPoint Live, where you can share a PowerPoint as content into your meeting, and that content is interactive by the attendees. Hyperlinks are accessible. You can play embedded YouTube videos inside of PowerPoint Live, and it plays natively on your attendees' computer systems. Really great use for PowerPoint and using it in a Teams meeting. They brought that same concept now with Excel files. So you can add and inject an Excel file into the meeting. Now, this isn't the same as like screen sharing. Everybody who's on the call, as we go through this, you're going to basically on the fly share that file with them, and it's going to be embedded inside of the meeting. And everybody on this call would be able to come in and click around and interact live on this file.
And I love that you're still doing this in the web browser.
The first time I ever tried it, that was like, okay, let's see what happens. But yeah, that was awesome. It worked. So what's
nothing like a live demo that you've never done before.
Yes.
This is great because there's this concept of the flow of work. You know, when you're in a Teams meeting or you're in any meeting and you're working with someone, and let's say you want to work on a document together, this brings that document directly into the call instead of you switching back and forth between your web browser or your Excel desktop app and the Teams call. Or you've got, maybe you don't even have two monitors, you know, that context switching that is created there by having to tab back and forth constantly to see the meeting chat and go back and see the document. This just puts the document literally into the meeting. And that's pretty cool. Like, you know, Joe and I have talked for many hours on PowerPoint Live and how much we love it, how inclusive it is, you know, how more efficient it is. And this is kind of the same idea, except now we're getting into like the business apps side of the house where we might be reviewing a spreadsheet of data together.
Yeah. And good question from Janet in the chat. It continues to be the same concept we like to talk about. And when you put things in the Microsoft Cloud, is there's one file to rule them all. So this would be your original file that you're working on. So all your changes are happening live. It's not a copy. So you're not having to deal with different, you know, versions and things like that. So that works really great.
Yeah,
I took advantage of this.
Right?
Sorry?
There's a limit though, right? Like what?
Yeah, there's right now the limit is 25 participants on this at a time. So it's, you know, designed, again, you're all interactively editing a file at the same time. 25 is probably a decent limit. So for small teams, that's not bad. So if you're going to have a bunch of people, you want you know, a lot more people, you might want to just share the file itself out, and everybody can open it themselves on their own computer or something like that if you needed to do something bigger. So
and there's some viewing options with this too. I think when you initiate the share, you can decide if people are going to have edit access, and you can all browse around independently, but you can also go back to see what the presenter is doing, which is pretty cool. So But yeah, 25 people. If you even tried to initiate the share on a call with more than 25 people, the teams will tell you that it won't work. So it's not like the first 25. It's if you have more than 25, it's not going to let you start the share at all.
And I took advantage of this recently had an Excel file that was basically an agenda, a large agenda of files, and there were 3 of us kind of editing and moving the content around all at once, making decisions. We had our own little sections, and it worked. It worked great. Next
Joe,
thing we're
you
going.
messaged me a lot after hours. Joe's a night owl. It's not uncommon for me to wake up in the morning and see that Joe sent me, some blog or some link at like 1 o'clock in the morning. So, Joe, how are you going to make my life better?
Well, there is a new thing called scheduled send. So if there's something like look at it in the morning. So now this is what I can do to you. So if I've got something I really want you to pay attention to, but I don't want to bug you after hours, I want to respect your time, your weekend time, and I have the ability to now schedule something with you. So you can right click. Sorry. Oh, I'm in the web. Sorry, it's not going to work in the
Yeah, I was
web
going to
yet.
say we're going too far down the rabbit hole of using the web
Yeah,
client.
not yet. Here we go.
Yeah, so this is a desktop only feature.
Desktop only. So now I can schedule a send in there. So I right clicked on the little send button, and now we've got some options here. So immediately already it's picking tomorrow 8 a.m., which is great. That's just kind of, I think, the default I've seen. And I can send at that scheduled time. And it's going to give you a little information pop up there that it's going to deliver it tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Again, one way to kind of respect your team, respect your coworkers. A nice little feature there.
Yep, we can all appreciate a little peace and quiet after hours, right?
Another option we've got is video responses. So you can record a short video clip and send that. It's not going to work here. Don't have enough cameras and virtual machine here. So, but you're able to, I'm not sure the length of it. I mean, it's meant to be short. I don't think is it greater than 2 minutes maybe? But a short little video clip, it might be the way that you like to interact. Maybe you've got something that you want to hold up to the camera and show. You can do that. You can take advantage of it that way. Some type of object you have in your hand you want to share. So that's just another way that you could interact with the people that you're on a chat with. And let's see, do I have any? I don't have any. I have some unread activity. Another new feature is unread toggle in the activity feed. So this is a great way if you have a whole bunch of people you've been chatting with, you've got a very active feed, you're in a lot of teams perhaps. There now is a quick little feature there to show you just unread activity options that are showing up for you. So you can quickly kind of triage those if you need to. And our last one we want to try to show is, let's see, inline transcript editing. So I think pull that up.
Deborah had a comment in the chat about not seeing the camera, the video clip option yet. The video clip, I'll drop a link in the chat. The video clip is for one-on-one or group chats. It won't work in meeting chats, and I have noticed that it doesn't work if you're trying to message someone from outside your organization. So that some of those things could be.
Okay, because I tried, I pulled up Stephanie on my chat, option there. And I right clicked on the arrow and it didn't come up and my camera's grayed out. So, and all my updates go through, I promise. So,
Yeah,
Just curious.
It might work better once you're off this call and switched back over to the UF um, system. But yeah, in updates roll out at a different time. I mean, the fact that you're seeing the camera icon in the first place is good. That means that the filter
Okay.
will be live.
Okay.
And the next option we're going to show for our new items is inline editing for transcripts, now available for recordings that are kind of the new Stream 2.0, where if your recordings probably at this point in Teams are going to SharePoint or your OneDrive, they are now editable inline. So you can see I'm hovering over, I've got a little edit icon that's following me along here, and I can come in and edit this. That should probably be a capital Teams, and I'm done. So really quick to kind of clean up your transcript, make that a little clearer.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see that feature finally out. That was one of the original benefits of using Teams meetings with stream recording, was that you could go edit the transcript as you watched the video. So this will transcribe, stream on SharePoint now will transcribe anything that you upload to it. In Teams meetings have an even better transcript because it can tell who said what. So you actually get what they call speaker attribution. So you'll see Dwayne said this and Joe said that. So that's pretty nice to be able to clean up when Teams misinterprets your Ocala National Forest dialect of English that I sometimes have. So.
And now we're going to dive into our search deep dive and take you through search through using Teams, Office.com, and even through Bing. The first place we're going to start is searching in Teams. You can search messages, search your files that are in there. There's a lot of filtering capabilities. Again, like Dwayne said earlier on, pretty much every Microsoft product at this point now has a search bar at the top built into it. And if we want to do a search on something up here, I'm going to search on bandwidth. First interaction we're going to have is just a list of messages, files, kind of in a scrolling pattern here. But we have the ability to dive into and split those up. We can either look at messages and get a number of new filter capabilities. So this is sort of your summary, a quick overview that you've got some options that have been returned to you. But you can dive in and say, I'm looking for a specific message, or I'm looking for a specific file with bandwidth in it. You can do that here. If we look at messages right now, we've got a bunch of filters here that we can take advantage of. We like to say, what is it doing? What it is versus where it is. So
You know, we've as a culture, as a people, as a humanity, whatever you want to call it, we've conditioned ourselves on how to use computers since the 90s, you know, when Windows Explorer first came out, and we had folders and we had subfolders and we had files inside of those folders, and we, like, I guess, made this mental picture of what a filing cabinet would look like, and we put that on a computer. And so we ended up kind of getting a little carried away, because we've seen people with projects that go so far down into 20 subfolders deep that it's really difficult to find stuff at that point. And so, yeah, the motto that we came up with was, you don't have to know where it is. Like, stop trying to remember how many subfolders deep do I need to click to find that document. You just need to remember something about that document that you're looking for, because as Joe goes through the search demo, you're going to start to see some of the things that Team Search can pull out of a document. And before we get started too much of this, I want to try something. There's a new instant poll option. So I'm going to ask a question, and you're all going to hopefully say yes or no. Have you ever used the search bar at the top of Teams to try to find something? Okay, so it's so far it's about 50-50. It's pretty close. That's the kind of the feeling that I had was a lot of folks don't realize what this bar can do for you. Like, and especially once you are further along in your journey of using Teams and using cloud files and stuff like that, and you're in like 25, 30 different teams and you're trying to remember where something is, this bar is going to make your life a lot easier. So hit it, Joe. Keep going.
All right. So I'm gonna search on an option here. I think we call these verticals. So messages, people, files. On messages, we've got it narrowed down to a few items. We're just going to walk through some of these options here. For type, we've got chat and channels. So if you know that it was, gosh, I know this. I was looking for something covering this word, and I was just chatting with one of my buddies. That's a quick way to just say I want to just see chat right there. But if it was in a channel,
meeting chat
or meeting chat,
yeah.
So
yeah, something that was said in a meeting, because
meeting. Yep.
remember, with one of the things I like to point out about Teams meetings is the chat is persistent. The chat doesn't disappear when the call is hung up.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to, months from now, go back and search for a word that was said in a meeting chat.
So yeah, chats,
And
personal
Karen,
chats.
you got a question? See a hand up.
Yeah. How do you get to the particular screen you are on right now? I've got the search bar up top, but I don't have anything that looks like what you're showing right now, and I was distracted for a second.
Have you typed anything in yet?
Yeah, I've just.
Oh, you just put in a search word?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I've done. Yep, correct. So once you do that, you should get something closer to what we're kind of walking through. Yep. The other option here is, I know if it's perhaps in a team, I can lock it down to a team. So again, you can start very broad. I just have this word. I don't exactly remember where it is, but now I start remembering, oh, it's a chat, it's a channel, I can do that. And again, you've got from a specific person who's sent it to you. There's a bunch of options in here that we can walk through that you can see. If we go to files, you have some of the same options here if a specific team, but now we've got file types. And these are just some very common file types and options that we have here. So if you know it was something in a PDF, you can click a PDF, and there it's going to search through that. And something we'd like to show off here too, and have an understanding, is that it's pulling back words that are inside of documents. So it doesn't have to be in the file name. It will search through PDFs if the PDFs are searchable. If they're not an image-based, those are going to work just fine. Your Excel files, Word files, text files, OneNote files. Most documents like that are going to be searched and discoverable. Very nice way to do that. There's some ways to shortcut that a little bit if you want to. I would say there's probably two shortcuts I like to show. One is file type. You can put right in your options here. So I can put in file type : PDF. I'm searching for bandwidth. I know it's a file type. It's PDF. There's all my files that have a bandwidth in talking about it in there of some sort. That's one way. And you can also do like from. So I could do Hyatt. And those are going to be items that has been generated and created, modified by the from person. That works really well. Let's see if there's any messages that way. Nope, just files. Those are two quick little ways to narrow things down right from the search bar.
And those
work on.
If you forget what to type in there specifically, those are, like Joe showed up in the filtering. Yep. Those are available in the filtering and in the drop downs.
Now, if you know where you started with a little bit, so let's say I'm in this old meeting chat. I know I'm in here, that I know what I'm looking for is in this chat. You can do some contextual searching by hitting Control F key, Control Find key. I would say Control F. And what we'll see is we've got this narrowed down automatically to the chat that I'm in, the location that I'm in. It's already filtered just to that immediately. So I can now type bandwidth. Maybe it wasn't this call. Thanks. There's a bunch of thanks. Now I'm just hooked into that call.
Really important.
So,
that's a really important shortcut to remember. We just want to re-emphasize this. The default search bar at the top of Teams is going to search every single thing that you have access to within all of the teams that you're a member of, all the chats you've ever had, every message that's ever been posted in any channel. That can be a lot of data. That can be an overwhelming amount of data. And that's why I said in the chat that filtering is your friend. But this shortcut of, if you already know that what you're looking for was in the general channel of the 4-H club team, well, while you're in the general channel, just hit Control F and it's going to scope your search to just that channel that you're currently looking at. You've already done most of the work by just clicking your way into the general channel. This Control F keyboard shortcut, it just gets you one step closer to finding stuff in that specific channel.
one other thing you could do is if you're looking for a phrase, you can put those in quotes, and that'll search for that phrase for you. So here I've searched on Great One, and there's something from Miss. Let's any other examples there, Dwayne, we're missing?
No, I just think, I mean, one of the things that we might not have pointed out that is, it's not super obvious, but when you do a search in Teams using the search bar, and this is going to be true for all of Microsoft Search, when you search for, let's say, a file. So Joe, I think you searched for a file called bandwidth. And again, if we already said this, I'm sorry. I just feel like this is amazing and it needs to be repeated. It is not going to search for any file that is named bandwidth. Or has that term in the name. You could replace bandwidth with whatever you want, you know, cows, corn, citrus, whatever. It is going to search the contents of all the files you have access to. So like, think about that for a second. You have a search network of every single document that you have access to within your organization that you can type in a keyword, and it is going to instantly crawl through all those files that you have access to. It could be millions of files, and it's going to pull back results of anything that even just contains that word inside the file. That's crazy. It's going to pull back, like, yeah, meeting recordings, transcripts of meetings, PDF files, PowerPoints, you know, anything like that, that it has that content inside of it is going to come back as a result. And that's one of those things that once you realize that, you start to the saying that we came up with of, you don't have to know where it is, you just have to know what it is, starts to make a little bit more sense. Because if you know what you're searching for, I'm searching for that PowerPoint that Joe showed me that had the word bandwidth in it. Well, those three things right there, all three of those things are filters you can apply on the search. And you just took your search results from 20,000 search results to 4, you know, with just 3 things. So I love it. I love search. I don't click on anything anymore. I just search.
And this is what great here is that it's searching when you end up having your videos up in Teams and SharePoint, OneDrive, that transcript becomes searchable also. So one of those search results was to a video. So here's, it took me to the video, and I could jump in and search on that. It didn't take me immediately to where that location was, but I could search on bandwidth, click on it, and I can click on that body of text there, and it would jump me right to where that was being talked about in the video itself. So.
And Kevin brings up another instance like this that happens with OneNote. If you search for the word bandwidth, you might see, like, can you switch back over to your Teams search that you had? Because I think there was a OneNote. Yeah, so podcast.one. So that's OneNote notebook. And somewhere inside of that OneNote notebook is the word bandwidth. Now, when you click on that podcast.one, it's not going to take you directly to the part of the notebook that says the word bandwidth. But OneNote has its own search function built right into it. So once you open the notebook, then you could type in, you could hit the magnifying glass over there on the left and you could type in the word bandwidth. Then it would take you to what you're looking for. So there's a couple of file types that are like that. Meeting recordings, Joe showed that just now. You can search the transcript for that word in OneNote, but it's at least going to let you know that term exists inside of that transcript or that notebook. I expect that to get better over time as OneNote evolves.
And just so you know, if you know it's something is in OneNote, you want to do that little file trick, file type. It's one is the file extension for those. So file type :1 would get you searching just inside of OneNote files.
So the 41% of you or 48% of you or whatever it ended up being that have never actually used the search bar at the top of Teams, I hope now that you'll try it. Hopefully you've been walking along with Joe as we've been doing this. But again, this is so powerful. This is so powerful to break the mindset of having to remember the folder where your file was versus just kind of like using it like it's your own personal corporate search engine. Which actually we're going to get into that and kind of show that a little bit more, because the search that Joe just showed you is Teams specific search. It's going to show you messages. It's going to show you files that are stored in Teams. It's going to show you channel conversations that are all Teams. However, when we first started this community, the very first thing that we showed you, our first meeting topic was something like, what is Office 365 anyway? And we showed you office.com. Office.com, hopefully you're all familiar with using that now. It has some search capabilities built into it that are even more powerful than just using the search bar in the Teams app. So if you got your web browser up somewhere and you're logged in with your university credentials, go ahead and hit office.com and play around with what Joe's going to show.
So we have gone to, again, office.com, which still is office.com right now. Eventually, we believe that's going to change to Microsoft365.com, but right now, office.com, easiest way to get there. And with that consistency, we have our search bar at the top. We can come in here and search for, I'm going to just pick a word, subscribe. We have a few new options along the top, our verticals. We've got our files, we've got some sites, people. So this would be your SharePoint sites in the cloud. If you're using SharePoint News, you can show up here, messages, images, and even Power BI data sets are searchable and can be brought back now this way. The same type of quick little filtering built in you can do also. You can use file type in here. You can use from there. I narrowed it down straight down to a single OneNote that Dwayne had modified with the word subscribe in it. You can do that. Let's search. What was our word?
You get on the file type drop down if you weren't using the search query language.
The file type files?
Yeah.
All of our standard ones here. So I think web page might be something that we don't get in Teams. I don't think I was showing that in there.
Yeah, that's going to
video,
find
photos,
which is cool.
Yes. Yeah. The Word, Excel, our Office, we can narrow it down for our Office documents. So very quickly to apply that, lock it down to a single file if we want to. Now this is something that should be pretty interesting too, is this capability using office.com, because you're in the, I would say the umbrella of all the Office suite. This is capable of returning results in your email. So what you're seeing here right now is I clicked on messages, and we have got a result that is an email message of that has an attachment in it. And the search word was in the PDF file in that attachment. It's not in the message itself.
Is that crazy?
So,
Like, that's just, yeah, think about that. Like, again, Microsoft Search is crawling into the document that's attached to that email. And that's what we would call like a traditional email attachment or a legacy email attachment. Like, that's where you just straight up attach the file to the email. It's not like I shared a link to a file that was stored in OneDrive. It was just straight up inside of the email. And Microsoft Search is indexing it and pulling back content that's attached to it. Like, wow.
yeah, Janet, sometimes I think this is a better way to go if you really can't find something. Sometimes this is pretty mind-blowing that it can do that just like that. Again, we've got what we have here, last modified. I like this too. This is a really nice interface to check out. You know, it's a very recent file. It's really easy to check last month. You know, within the last month, I know I've received that file. You can do individual dates, of course, and return that information.
And I think it's worth noting that a scenario that we've had come up several times is when you're hunting for an email that was within a specific date range. You know, like, I know the email was from Joe, or I know the email said committee in it, and I know that it was sometime between January and, March. You could do that in this search field here, and you would get results much, much, much better than if you tried to do that same kind of search using the Outlook desktop app. So it's worth noting that there are certain things that the web app excels at that the desktop app kind of lags behind. And I feel like search is definitely one of those things. There's, Joe and I have been doing a lot of work with Outlook Online lately, trying different things. And we have found several kinds of features that the web app excels at. And so I feel like that date range thing and file type and all of those filters that you could put in and apply that to searching your inbox. Oh man, that's really going to make it easy to find stuff.
Yeah. Something else that we're going to cover is a little bit, if you work with images a lot, it depends on one setting or one type of metadata that you might put in your images. But if we search on, I think I've got egg. Let's try eggs. And I'm going to narrow it down to images. I'm going to open up this image. Now it's got egg in the visible in the text. We'll talk about that in a minute. But what I want to show you is I've clicked this little detail icon up here, the little circle with the eye in it for information. That's those little extra details. What we're seeing here is this image, its file name is 005.988.jpg, but there's a title to it. I didn't type this title column in. I didn't type this data in to this file. But the person who manages these images, if you've got someone on your communications team, publishing team, marketing team, this is something they might commonly do, is they add metadata to these files. If we were to look at this file, let me see where I might have one of these. Put that in my downloads. Looking for that specific one. It might not matter. I'm just going to look at one of these right now. I'm going to show you properties of an image. That title column, that's been embedded inside of that image file. If you have someone who's doing that very, with their images, making those images available as an extension agent to use in your communications and marketing, that title field is going to get pulled into the team site that you're uploading your files to. It's going to get pulled into SharePoint. SharePoint is going to pull that out and put that automatically into that title attribute for you. And once it does that, it becomes searchable. So if you've got good information in there, that can really help you kind of narrow down and even find some images you might be looking for. This used to, and Microsoft's made some changes recently, and it looks like maybe they are still working on turning it back on, but it used to take the tags and pull those in also. We don't see that doing that right now. There's some indications that it's supposed to be doing that. Our testing recently, it's not working.
Yeah, that's kind of a question mark right now, because it in the past, a simple example would be either this one, or like, let's just imagine you took a picture of a stop sign. The word stop is written in the image, and SharePoint would extract that text and kind of copy it into a little hidden space, so that when you searched for the word stop, that picture would actually come back. So you could take a picture of a building, you could take a picture of a piece of paper, you could take a picture of a business card, and anything that was written in text would actually come back as a search result. And doesn't appear to be working right now, at least in our tests that we did this week.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on it and see if there's something going on there, but I'm going to see if I can find some news or anything that might give us some more details about that.
Yeah, you can see an example here more of some of these images that had that title field though, and those were all brought back in, and now those are searchable and in your results. I think we have one example or where it actually is inside of the image. This was working, I think, back in February. So these are some images. I search on the word Contoso. I can open this file up. Let's look at the metadata on this image.
And it's important to point out that's a PNG file, not like a PDF or anything that you could highlight and select the text out of it. It's just a straight up picture, but it has the word Contoso written in it. And that was working. SharePoint extracted that text so that it's something you could search on.
Yeah, you can see here the title doesn't have that information in it right now, so it didn't pull it through the title, but it's picking that up in the extracted text. That's optical character recognition basically was doing behind the scenes for us. So hopefully they'll bring that back.
Yeah, we'll let you know when we find out what's going on there. But it was working. Now it's not working. Maybe it'll start working again. I don't know. We'll see. Kind of an obscure use case, but it is kind of neat to see that you could locate images. I know a lot of extension agents have taken photos, and they share those photos amongst themselves so that they know that, hey, this came from one of my peers. I'm allowed to use this photo in a publication or in a flyer or something like that and not worry about copyright infringement. So having another way to search and find and discover photos that are more specifically about what you want is really important. I feel like that's a really good use case for this if it works.
So I think the next one we're going to cover, unless you got any other examples there we had.
No, but I do want to ask another. I'm not going to pop up a poll for this one. This one's just kind of for fun. Have you ever gone to a search engine and typed in your own name? What's out there? What's out there on me? Joe, do you ever do that?
Maybe.
Yeah, try it. I want to see what comes back.
Try it here?
No, Joe, go.
Just everybody on the call.
Yeah. We had a situation come up where somebody typed in their own name. Can you do that on Bing? Because that's where we're headed next, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. if you go to Bing and you can see Joe, if you zoom in on the top right, you can see that Joe is signed into Microsoft Edge using his work account. In this case, it's the work account for the Cloudy County subscription. But because he's signed into Microsoft Edge, he's also going to be authenticated to other Microsoft services like Office.com or Microsoft Bing in this case. And so you're seeing unique details. And look, the section is even titled Microsoft Search down there at the bottom. He's seeing unique bits and pieces of information to him. So if you, Joe, if you type in your own name, you're actually going to get your own profile, I believe, is going to come back as a hit. Yeah. So you're seeing Joe and you're seeing recent files that Joe has worked on. Now, don't freak out because this is not like I couldn't go type that in and see the same results. Joe is only seeing those results because he's currently logged into Edge and therefore Bing using his school account. If anybody else on the planet goes and types in that same search word, they're not going to see that Joe was most recently working on the Florida 4-H, egg show photo. Like that's very private, very specific information that is only available to you because you're signed in. And so we have had a few people get a little, I won't say freaked out, but they were a little startled that they thought that those were public search results, and they are not. But Joe's going to show us how to use the Bing search engine as it's connected to his work or school account using the school vertical that's available inside of Bing.
All right. So in this case, just to follow up on that, you've got Bing is a search engine. Microsoft Search is a separate search engine. Bing has access to publicly available documents on the internet. Microsoft Search has access to your corporate data. So this view is just a merging of those. So Bing doesn't have access to Microsoft Search results. This web page just merges them together. So if you bring up a search like that of some sort, you can see right there, there's just see all results in the Shift Show right now. And you also have this option up here that immediately says school, that a little dot up there to let you know that there's results of some sort. So I could dive in and click on search. It's going to show me. It's going to show files and documents, people. There's a person. It will show any groups I belong to. There's no groups like that. There's some sites that I own, that I'm a member of. Probably probably files that I've created and am an owner of also. We go back to web search again here, and let's try. What would be a good word here? Let's try genetics. I'm going to dive right into school on this for genetics. And again, this is just going to show us files that have genetics in the name, genetics in the text and content like that. That's all it's going to do for us. We've got our verticals here again. We've got files and sites and groups. We have messages. Yammer has been added to this one. So assignments, if you're using Teams as your learning management platform, you would have potentially assignments. And again, Power BI can show up in there also. So we have a special word we wanted to search for to kind of show off.
Palindromic or something like that.
Yeah, let's try that word. Let's see. So we're just going to go back to genetics. We're going to do, I'm at Bing search, looking at this word. I'm going to drop into search. And I'm sure that's the right word.
Yeah, that's the one, because that was an email attachment. So if you go to messages, I believe, I think Bing will show it like that.
Yep, it works there
Yeah.
too.
So that's
So it's picking it up.
locating. This is I won't say exactly parallel, but it's super duper duper close to the search that you get on office.com. But if you are a user of Microsoft Edge, and if you're a user of Microsoft Bing, and you have Edge signed into your work account, well, the search box that's just at the top of your browser becomes something that you can use really quickly to search across your entire what would normally be called like your corporate intranet. Everything that's available internally that you have access to, you can now just use the search bar in your browser to locate and find and discover it. And so in this case, Joe had typed in a word that was inside of an email message that I had sent him. And he's just using not Bing, but that was kind of the gateway to get there. That flow of work thing, I think, comes up here as being kind of important. It's nice to have the ability to not have to switch out of stuff that I'm already used to using. Like I don't want you all to think like, well, now I like to use search in Edge, but now I have to use search in Teams. No, you don't. You can still continue to use search in Edge if it's being connected, and you're going to get those results.
The next thing we want to talk about is some security, continuing on some of the security talk we're looking at here. I could do this I'll stay in Bing for this right now. But I'm searching on a word WARF, and what we want to cover here is something again, worrying about what results are being returned to you. The only results are going to be returned to you are things that you have access to. Somehow somebody has given you access to these files. We can, it's not uncommon to have people come to us and say, I did this search on this word and I'm seeing stuff that, it's not my files. I don't know why I have access to them. I'm not sure what happened. Should I have access to them? And we want to kind of cover that a little bit of how that can happen and what's happened here. So I searched in the word WARF. What I'm seeing here right now is I'm getting documents, top secret documents, returned to me in a team, Worf, son of Moog. And I'm like, I don't think I'm a member of that team. I haven't joined that team. Why am I seeing those files? If someone has shared a folder with you or shared a file with you, those results are going to be searchable. So it's not just files that are in your team or files that you own, but it might be something that somebody has shared with you. So at some point, someone has to have purposefully shared these files with you, given you permissions in some way to those files. So maybe you don't know they did that. Sometimes somebody will accidentally, and this is a good way to discover those sometimes, is somebody may have accidentally shared with everyone in your organization, or shared with anyone. Those are some options when you're sharing content. We go into my documents and let's go through share real quick. So we're gonna do a OneDrive share. Right now it's locked down to people you specify can view. So if I was to share this with 3 or 4 people, I put their email addresses in here. Only those people are going to be able to actually access this content, and that's it. If I was to generate a link that is people in my organization, that's what this link is here. People in the Shift Show Cloudy County with this link. If I was to choose that option and apply it, now I can email this to those same group of people. But if they were to forward that around to other people, those people will also have access to that information and that link. They just click that link that's been sent and they're going to now have access to it. That's one way that people can accidentally end up having access to content and showing up in search. And usually that's the way when you discover like, why do I have this list of social security numbers or something like that? It can be kind of scary. So, but it's usually someone purposely has done that, and maybe they shared it with you 2 or 3 years ago and you forgot. But that can happen also in this case. And I think we got the other option here is anyone with this link So yeah, those options, when you first share something, you want to pay attention to that, how you're choosing those. And if you do a search and discover something you're not sure of, that might be what has happened. But again, you're only going to have access to stuff that somebody gave you access to. So just something to watch out for.
Yeah, just be mindful of oversharing. That's all. It can get a little tricky when you start messing around with permissions and stuff on specific files and folders and whatnot inside of a team. It's possible to break the permissions in a team site so that everyone in your university can see what's inside of it. So if you're messing around with that stuff, I guess the sanity check you could do would be to use the search or have somebody else use search to see what they find. But yeah, in this example here, Wharf has accidentally shared out a folder of top secret documents for anybody in the organization to be able to see. And so now those are coming back as valid search results when people are using Microsoft Search. So not trying to scare anybody, just saying, just be mindful of when you share things, what options are you using, and what's the minimum amount of access you can provide in order for people to be able to get to the file and get the job done with that file. And that's what you should go with. It's real easy to just use anyone with this link and just let it fly. But that can open you up and burn you later, maybe, if somebody posts that link on, Facebook or Reddit or something like that, and people from outside actually start editing that file. So just keep that in mind. And Karen has a question about sharing outside the organization. Can I set up a folder that someone outside can access while keeping it private from most? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. You have to use OneDrive to do that. By default, Microsoft Teams does not let you share with folks outside your university. The only way you could give someone outside your university access to data in a team would be to add them as a guest. But if you use OneDrive, you can share in the option that Joe has there, people you specify. That can be anybody. It doesn't have to be the email address of an individual inside your university. It could be a Gmail account, a Yahoo, a Hotmail, whatever. And it is going to go through a process with that person to have them verify their identity. It will send like you're probably all like logged into your bank, and the bank says, check your email for the 6-digit code that we just sent you so that we can confirm that you are at least someone who has access to that email. So it's going to do that same process with a person from outside your university to verify their identity as best as possible. So yeah, you can definitely do that, Karen.
Yeah, it's a great way to, maybe you don't have to set up an entire team with one person or 2 or 3 people, and you're just kind of sharing some files back and forth. That's a great way to just do that in your OneDrive, create a folder, share that folder out with those individual people.
And there's a lot, kind of going off topic just a little bit, but for the last like 60 seconds or so, I think if we click through some of those options, you'll see that there's a lot of things in there that are designed to help you protect yourself. Like you can set an expiration date on the share so that, maybe it's kind of time sensitive and that people shouldn't be accessing it for too long. You can do an expiration date. You can block the download of the file. You can give them view only access. You can do some interesting things too with like Word documents. You can share a link to a Word document that it forces the Word document into review only mode so that the only thing they can do is leave comments on it rather than actually edit the document itself. So there's a lot of really interesting little toggles and buttons and check marks and stuff that you could put in when you're sharing something through OneDrive. So if you haven't tried that out, check that out. Practice sharing some stuff to your own private email address. That's a really good way to get visibility into both sides of the equation of what would the person you're going to share with, what would they see on their side, so share it to your own Hotmail account or something that you might have and get an understanding of how that process works.
Yeah, you can see it real quick. Like anyone with the link options gives you an expiration date and a password. So maybe it's some content that you're not exactly sure who is going to have access to this, but somebody needs it. They can view it. but maybe the content is going to change in a month. You just want to get this version of it out. People can review it quickly. You can set expiration so that they're not looking at old data down the road if you want to.
Yeah. Well, cool. It's 3:00. That was Microsoft Search, and I hope that you all try it. I hope that you all go hunt and look for things to see. I know in extension, there's some really bonkers, Latin terminology for various kinds of critters and plants and stuff like that. Type those in, see what you can find out there. I've seen some pretty enlightening results from extension agents that are hunting for fact sheets and publications and stuff like that by using Microsoft Search and discovering they had access to stuff that was really, really useful to them. So we'll hang out on the call for a little bit longer in case anybody has any questions or just wants to chat. But yeah, this was Search. I hope you all go find something, right?
Find some really good holidays this year.
Maybe some rest.
Find some snow, find something cold, at least down in here in Florida. That's my plans.
Maybe we'll find a new year too while we're at it, right? All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to kill the recording. And if you want to hang out with us, feel free to do so.